Good morning, everyone. Yes, so welcome to a stunning new day. Yes, so we are excited, people of color this month, and we want to really this month want to have that honest discussion. We really went through a challenging season, a challenging time, and we really want to allow ourselves, therefore, to really be in that currentness, right? We have spoken about the currentness of our season, but we really want to have our generation focused on our reaction against the war, our reaction against what is truly happening around us. And yes, we've got our war paints on today, our green war paints. We wanted to have our green war dress on, but I thought that let's add the people of color to it, right? Because we all this generation about being that difference, right? And we want to continue to advocate on that, right? Even if we find ourselves agreeing with challenges that might have caused our generation to be in such a pain, I want to really today emphasize on that pain that should not allow us to be a generation that kills one another. That pain should not allow us to be a generation that wants to wipe the next generation from the surface of the earth, right? I want to allow ourselves to understand that this war thing, that is a generational thing, is a generational war for reason, right? But our generation should not allow ourselves to educate ourselves that suicide is fine. Because when you look at war today and you look at the reason beyond war, and you look at the reason why people have war, and you look at the financial state behind the war, then we have to in season allow ourselves to be educated, right? Because we are educated on the television that the war is a war. We are educated that someone wants to claim territory, but we should also allow ourselves to understand the presence of both parties in the war, right? Both parties involved in the war, and their reactions therefore in the war, and therefore we allow ourselves to understand why we sometimes have to react and say, but it's not fine for humanity to be killed outright. So even if opposition says that they are stronger, that they want to manipulate for their reason, we have to understand the currentness of the universe, the strength of the universe in our season, right? Where we have to understand that we are in war, that we are both sitting at the table, that the one army might seem stronger than the other, but it is not a form of humiliation. When you stand with someone in front of you that wants to kill you, you don't tell yourself that it's gonna be fine for this person to kill me, that it's gonna be humiliated if I do not defend myself. Because there's sometimes in life that we really have to allow ourselves to really stand up and to really say that, you know what, this war is war. You know what, we don't know the reason for this, but the better me is the me that says today that I do not only speak for Putin, I do not only speak for Zelensky, I do not differentiate between this one is that and now I call you different than that one. No, I speak for both Putin and both Zelensky. Whenever I speak in my house, I know there's lots of recordings in my house, I speak to both Putin and I speak to both Zelensky, because we are finding a generation that educates ourselves that to see people dying on a daily basis is fine. And I want to tell you that today Rabia Elise says it is not fine. Today AWOKH says that it is not fine. That it is not fine no matter how you try to explain it to me. I cannot agree with it. No matter how many times you try to tell me that you are there and you are making sure that the country remains your country, I cannot be fine with that, right? Because I also know that yes, tomorrow we can also again decide on making sure that Ukraine is once again Ukraine. But what I always say is, let's react in the currentness of today. Let's react in the currentness of saying that, you know what, Zelensky, even you are fine for us. We don't want anyone to look at you and say that you are the weaker person because you now have to do what, or have to react, or have to make an agreement. No, we look at you as the stronger person for even making that decision, not for yourself, but for a generation also, for a generation of Ukrainians that can once again take hands with the Russians and can once again say that we are one family, man. We are one house, man. And because we are one house, we're gonna find a way to make it work. Putin, Zelensky, Putin knows I shout a lot about the Russians. All of them knows when I'm in my room, they tuned in, they all know that I shout a lot about these things, and I do reprimand them. And I did say that what we can do as a generation, we have tried to find so many ways, but if I were the lead army, whatever leader or whatever, how you call it, the lead army CEO, you know what I would do as the leader of this nation, as the leader of this generation? I would make sure that all the armies in the world get together, that we sit around the table, the Navy, everyone, the Defense Force, everyone, we sit around the table and we make one constructive decision concerning war. We make one constructive decision so that no country can ever think that it is fine to kill one another, that it is fine to just send a COVID virus over the earth, that it is fine to just send lots of flies in one country, and that it is fine to see Sri Lanka in poverty, to see India in poverty, to see Africa in poverty, to see Pakistan in poverty, to see Palestine having to fight to say where must they go and stay because they are also part of Israel, that it is not fine for us to kill one another. And today I'm just emphasizing on that. I'm not asking us to do anything. I'm saying that our generation reaction concerning this war is our question to ourselves, that we have to ask ourselves, are we then killers that we feel fine to have this war going on like this? Are we then killers? Are we then educating our children that we sometimes have to kill? No, we don't have to if we don't have to. So don't educate your children that, man, because if we really have to sometimes defend ourselves, then the strength of this universe would be able to defend us, man. And that is what I really want to focus on with people of color today. It is our generation's reaction towards the war and our generation's reactions concerning war and concerning any abuse, man. We had women abuse and lots of women that also stands up in this season to defend themselves. But I always educate, AWOKH always educates, and if you go through AWOKH's videos, you will notice that Rabia Elise AWOKH educates that there is a proper way that we can do these things. There's a proper way that AWOKH says that we can speak up. There's a proper way that we can really allow our generation to know that we do not have to break one another down, that we do not have to be aggressive or angry concerning things that has happened, because yes, it happened, but are we gonna allow ourselves to be in the currentness of today, or are we gonna prevent ourselves by fighting these things in a way that is not conscious, in a way that we are not attentive and assertive to these things? My request today is that attentiveness, man, that attentiveness, that when you are angry, you make sure that you react in a proper way so that you always don't put yourself and other people in danger. That is always what I want to say concerning our generation's reaction when we are being challenged. Yes, we have challenges that is painful. I myself, everyone who knows me in South Africa knows that I went through a lot. But during that time, I have learned to know how to react, to know that all of those things that happened to me happened. But while I'm in the currentness of today, I have an opportunity to react and to not educate myself that I'm a killer because of what happened to me. I'm not going to educate myself that I'm going to be angry with anyone because of what happened to me. And every time I'm being reminded to be angry, then I shout in my house, I get over myself, I get calm again, and I once again feel fine, man. And everyone around me knows that that is my attitude, man. That I shout a lot, that I say that is not fine. I say it sometimes on my social pages. I say what I say, but I don't keep the anger within me, because even when I say what I say, I know the protection that is in my house, the universal strength. I call it the universe strength, man. I have reminded myself, man, that when we look upon earth today, we don't only look upon the God that we have been educated in a Bible that speaks from Genesis to Revelations, man. I have been educated that it is not the God only the way we perceive it in the human mind today, man, in what the human brain today understands as the God factor, man. It is everything concerning the universe, man. It is every generation's reaction, man. It is every color, man. It is our sins, it is our differences, it is our yeses, it is our no's, it is our rights and our wrongs, man. It is not only the church lifestyle, man. And therefore we have to allow ourselves to be current and to be fine and to not have to kill one another about that. If killings happen, it happens, but don't go and sit and make make a plan and work it out in order to kill, man, then you are really doing it intentionally. And we don't want to find ourselves doing things intentionally and educating ourselves that intentionally we now are a generation that sits and plans that when this happens, we're going to go and we're going to war and we're going to bang the gun. And now everyone in all the countries have guns, and no one can control those guns because not everyone has been educated on how to control those guns. And once again, those guns have their reason, and they are with specific people that defends this world. And if those guns find themselves in another hand, then those hands sometimes get out of control. Those people sometimes get out of control because those people are sometimes reminded that the gun is in their hand, the gun is in their house, and they are probably a defender. And when people come and challenge them, then they are not there to be a defender or to be in the army or the police, but they are normal everyday person. But then people come to them to say that we are also requiring protection, and then they try to protect people because they have the weapon in their hand, but they do not know, and they are sometimes not trained on how to use that weapon, man. And that is also that generation in war, that reaction is also that we sometimes should allow ourselves to know to take that step back, to know to not go and get arrogant, to know to not go and abuse one another, to know to not go and manipulate a situation, to not be happy when we see Putin and Zelensky in battle, man, because it is not only Zelensky today that sits in pain, but it is also Putin, and it is also the Russian people, it is the Ukrainian people, it is everything that we see around us that is visible, that is happening. And sometimes we want to keep a blind eye for it, sometimes we want to close our eyes because we don't want to see that we are all in pain, that our generation is all in pain. But we don't have to kill one another for that, man. We don't have to be abusive because of that, man. We can help Zelensky in a proper way by also educating Putin. You don't threaten a man that is sitting in battle. Putin is sitting and he's ready to just be angry with everyone. And everyone is just ready to now want to put Putin in jail. And the more you stir with Putin, the more he gets angry. The more you warn him that you're going to put him in jail, the more he prepares this wars. So our generation, really our leaders needs to get their mindsets right on how they speak, on how they educate. Because the more they speak, the more they stir anger in that man. And we don't have to defend Zelensky because he can defend himself, man. But we don't have to also be there to stir Putin in order to make sure that Zelensky sits in that seat, man. We don't have to abuse our men like that because they are men. They are the parents on this earth, whether we want to know it or don't want to know it. They are the leaders in this world. Yes, Zelensky is a leader. Yes, Putin is a leader. Yes, Zelensky is the elder leader in the room, and Zelensky is also teaching Putin something. The Zelensky is the younger leader in the room, and Putin is the elder leader in the room. And Putin is also teaching not only Zelensky, but everyone in the room concerning these things. So we need to know when to stop these things so that we don't have to be arrogant about our ways. We don't have to be arrogant about what Putin wants to do in Ukraine, but sometimes we just have to listen and listen right. We have to listen and react right. We have to listen and do right, man. And that is why, what is Putin teaching us during the season? That we need to have a united army, a united defense force that unitedly not only defend Europe, but when there's a generation that reacts, Putin is educating us, Zelensky is educating us, then we should get those defense that defend the whole world, that is ready to go and defend. They should not sit back and wait and just say that we're gonna be there to protect Zelensky tomorrow, we're gonna be there to defend him tomorrow. No, Putin is saying, Zelensky, look at these people around you. Look at how they are treating you, my brother. You are my own brother in my own house, but I teach you this way in order to educate you, the people around you, because we are growing old. We are not staying young on this earth, man, but we have to be visible and know who's the people in our houses, know who's the people that are truly there to defend us, and know who's the people that are against us, that stirs Putin while he's sitting there to keep Zelensky in his seat. We don't do that. We don't work one another up against the other, man. We speak both for what is right and what is wrong, and we therefore as a generation stand up and we react concerning that, because we are not there to abuse Zelensky, and we are not going to do that, and we are not going to allow our leaders to do that, and we are not going to allow our leaders to think that it's fine that a man on this earth that is a leader is sitting in that way, no matter what the differences are, because we have all done things wrong in our life. Everyone knows that we have all sinned. We have all done things wrong. We are all feeling that one is angry about that and that one is angry about that, but it's not about that today. Putin is saying, Zelensky, take a look around. You see those brothers that you call friends around you, and let me know, because Putin wants to be Zelensky's friend in the room, but all those people are making their own stories, and they're saying that they are speaking for everyone in Europe, but the moment they are speaking, they are actually trying to stir, and they're actually trying to prevent Zelensky from getting up of that seat, because the more they speak, the more they are arrogant about where they stand in parliament, in the United Nations. They are there to protect, but if I was the leader of this world, I would have said, if I was sitting in those meetings of the United Nations, I would say, army of this world, let us get together, let us decide to go and enter Russia, and to not kill anyone, but to surround Russia in general, to make sure that we go into Russia, and we make sure that we lift Putin off that seat, that we lift that parliamentary leaders in Russia off that seat, and that we make sure that they have one voice, and then we work it out after that, man. We can't have to allow ourselves to say that it is fine. There's enough army in this world to stand together in war and say that when this happens again in a generation, we all stand together, we surround the country, we come into your country in a way, and we get you off those seats so that there can be calmness in this world. That is all we need to do. We don't have to be arrogant about it. We don't have to say that you have to be educated about it. That's all our leaders had to do. They had to have one reaction to make, man. One reaction, man, no matter how many times they try to explain it to me. And then after they lift Putin off the seat, after they lift Zelensky off the seat, after they lift the whole Russian army off those seats, they go in with calmness. They are being educated in war how to do that, man. They have not once decided to do that. They don't have to suit anyone. They warn you, they send warnings, they say the army of this world is coming together to stop this war, because y'all are gonna discuss this in a constructive way. That is one thing that AWOKH Rabia has required the army of this world to do, and they have not once decided to tell me that they are going to do that, man. I don't know what's going to happen after this, but I'm angry about this. I'm angry about this army that defends this world, that could not make that one decision, no matter how many nuclear weapons there is, man. You make the decision, you defend your people, and you do it in a proper way, man. There doesn't have to be all these fights and all these arguments and all these leaders that educate us, that they are trying to be there for us, and in the meantime they are against us. We do not want that, man. So that is what I wanted to speak of today. I'm not going to say anything, but all I want to say is, let our generation learn to be in the currentness of our season. Let our generation learn to know how to take a step back. Let our generation learn to know that we are not a generation that kills one another, and that we are not gonna say that it is fine to kill one another. Let our generation know that Putin is educating us the same way Zelensky is educating us a lesson in the season. That yes, there's things happening. Yes, we are empathizing about it, but yes, we have to learn to listen to what is it that we need to do so that this war does not happen again. And if war is part of our generation, then it's part of it, but it plays it out the way it plays it out. But let me tell you, when we can do right, then let us do right on that day. That is all I wanted to say for people of color today. I don't want people to go and listen to AWOKH's videos. I realize that they put people of color outputs on, and then they go into their countries, and then they go and run on the streets, especially women. There's a group of women, but they are saying that they are speaking for AWOKH, but they are arrogant out there. Let me tell you, AWOKH Rabia Elise is not aggressive concerning what she does. When you walk with people of color and you listen in AWOKH's videos and you run for people of color, yellow team, I want to educate you today. You're not gonna be arrogant about it. Everyone wearing yellow in this season, you're not gonna go and be aggressive on the streets. You're not gonna go and disrespect men on the streets. You're not gonna go into countries, and you are a woman that knows that your countries grew up in religious ways. You're gonna do it in a proper, constructive way, in a calm way, not in an aggressive way. You realize that you plan whatever you want to speak about in a proper way, because that is how AWOKH does it. Everyone is wearing AWOKH yellow this season, but AWOKH yellow this season means everyone is running on the streets. AWOKH yellow is not aggressive. I have educated all of you and people of color on how we're gonna do this. Every video So those who are leading needs to do it in a proper way. If they are doing it because I have not had contact with anyone, but everyone is running with people of color, yes, I support it, and I'm excited that everyone is there to say that they need to be fine. But let me educate you right and listen to the videos. If you know that you are part of the teams that have been running out with the AWOKH yellow color, listen to the videos, listen, because there's a video that I have educated on how you can do all of these. If you want to speak up, how you can do it in a proper way, how you can really make sure that everyone around you is fine, so that we don't have to find ourselves a generation in pain while we can be fine, man. When you do things, you do it in a proper way. Because there's certain countries where there's religious people and religious elders that we also have to respect in the room. We're not gonna go and be angry. Yes, we know that everyone wants to be free and no one wants to be held tight, because we are all free people, but let us do it in a proper way, because our elders knows why they are educating us concerning certain things. There's another thing that I want to speak about, why our elders are doing this and why they are educating us in this way, and why as a woman I'm silent in the season, because I allow the men to speak and I allow my elders to speak, and I listen to Al Jazeera and what the elders are educating me and what they are speaking about, so that I also learn to know to not go and run out, to not go and stir anger, to not go and create environments that I AWOKH know can sometimes be painful to others. What I want to say about today is America has written a lot of films, and China, about things that has happened on other planets and that can happen on planet Earth, and those things are a reason why there's lots of cars on the road. And the film, I can't remember the name of the film, but the film explains everything on what people are planning. We don't know if they're part of mankind or if they are another part of the universe, but they have allowed ourselves to have cars all over the road. South Africa, Peru, Cape Town, there's a lot of cars, but there's no people buying those cars. New Zealand, there's a lot of cars and there's no people buying those cars. And what happened on other planets is those cities were bombed up. No one knows what happened in the cities, and when they came back, the cities were bombed up. So the engines of the cars and all the cars that are being manufactured are also unnecessary. You sometimes people have to know to look at what is happening in your country, what are people implementing, so that no one can go and threaten no country, and so that the earth cannot be threatened by any other people that we might know that might be out there. So look around you, look at all the garages, look at all the cars, look at the amount of 1,000 cars, because in one of the films there were people that were under, the children was in school and the people were at workplace, and while the people were driving from work, the cars were all bombed up and they were laying, the people were laying outside on the streets, and and we don't know what happened in the city. So all our countries are full of cars. So let us be attentive to also that. There is also what Putin and Zelensky them are speaking about in this season. It is that there's people watching in on us and they are trying to kill us and they are trying to kill our generations, but they have put the garages in a certain place. They have put all the cars, all the organizations that manufacture cars, they have all, when you look in your city, you can see how they have instructed it and how they have required to implement that. But then the engines in the cars and the bombs that can happen and all the things that can happen are those things that we have to be attentive about, because there's lots of cars. No one is buying all these cars because there's not so much people in the countries as there is so much cars on the road. So just look at what is happening. Look at what I'm telling you. Look, it's like someone that wants to just press a button and then all the engines blow up. So let us be attentive and conscious and cautious about all of those things. That is all I wanted to say and wanted to warn our people about that I've noticed during this season. And yeah, so there's a lot of films that I'm being educated about and that America and China and all the teams have educated us about. So if you watch those films, be attentive, be cautious, because our parliamentary leaders, they are just saying yes to everything. They don't have control sometimes with what is happening, and they are also being threatened sometimes. And if Zelensky is being threatened in that seat, then we hope that that person that threatens him will take a step back and will allow Zelensky to be free also in this season. They will really AWOKH requires you, AWOKH educates and AWOKH requires you to take that step back, to to not speak, but to allow our generation to be free. There's better ways that we can deal with these situations, but let us not be threatened by anything or anyone in our season. That is all that we have to say for people of color today. Our reaction, our perception, where is our generation finding ourselves, our generation that has to be there and that has to be fine, and that we have to know that it is no longer a personal thing, but it is really about every one of us. Every one of us that are in the room, all those colors, let's do it right. Let's not be aggressive. Let's not be abusive. Let's respect and listen to our elders, because our elders know why they are telling us about these things that happened on other planets that can also happen on Earth. So they are educating us about that. But let us not allow ourselves to kill one another, and for the Zelensky to still sit on the seat, and for the people of Ukraine to still be bombed up, and for the other countries' people to be bombed up. But let our leaders be attentive concerning all those decisions, because there's some people that are involved in those decisions and some people that are keeping those informations from us. But we know all these informations, and when we know, we speak up about it. We don't hide those information from anyone, so that we can react concerning that. That is all that we have to say. In people of color today, have a stunning day. Next month we will continue with our discussion again. Have a good day further.